So, Silicon Valley obviously has some very different viewpoints as a city, as a group of investors when it, from Memphis when it comes to building businesses and where value and potential is in a business. And so, for instance, out in San Francisco, there are plenty of companies that are founded at really the concept stage or at the pre-revenue stage that maybe have a bunch of users and traction, but don't necessarily have a fully proven out revenue model. Now, on the flip side, in Memphis, you can go to a group of Memphis investors with 1 million daily users, and they say, well, yeah, but how much money are you making? And really, there's a huge flip in mentalities going from Memphis to Silicon Valley. Number one, where do you stand on that spectrum? And also, if you're someone who is, for instance, a college kid in Memphis trying to build some type of user-based website, for instance, that doesn't have a good revenue stream at the moment, how can you go about building your idea?
Yeah, you just have to move. I mean, that is a very specific Silicon Valley playbook, and it only works here. I mean, the same way if you wanted to make Oscar movies, you should move to Hollywood. If you want to be, work on Wall Street and do IPOs, you should move to New York. If you want to be in magazine publishing, you should move to New York. If you want to be major in advertising, you should move to New York. It's astounding to me how many people, you never hear people saying, well, where's the next Hollywood? Well, there have been there's good film talent in Omaha. Why can't Omaha be the next Hollywood? But somehow everyone thinks there should be a place that does what Silicon Valley does. No, it's a company town. This is what it does. It does it well. It has people who understand how to do it. It has people who are comfortable investing in companies with those type of dynamics. More important, it has people who are comfortable working for companies with those type of dynamics. And it has a built-in support system because it's really, really hard, and you're probably going to fail. And socially, that's a difficult thing to go through, and it's a lot easier to go through here. So it's not to say no one can do it in another part of the country or another part of the world. There's certainly examples of it. But, there's a reason that the bulk of them come out of Silicon Valley, and the bigger the industry's gotten and the more varied it's gotten, the concentration continues to be even greater in Silicon Valley. If you want to build a consumer-based, we are going to go for eyeballs first and revenues later business, you would be crazy not to do it here because so many things are going to go wrong. If you can de-risk one part of it by where you live, why would you not do that? Why would you not do that? You just have to. Now, if you're building any other different company, there's lots of places you can go. If you're going to build an enterprise company, you can, Chicago has a ton of enterprise companies. I mean, there's a lot of, Atlanta has some, great companies that are enterprise companies. There's, certainly if you're going to go into healthcare, I mean, Nashville has amazing companies around healthcare. There's a lot of other sectors where there are great centers of, concentration in the U.S. I mean, if you're going to do something around sort of mobile storytelling, arguably you should go to L.A. and not, the Valley, because that's booming in LA right now. If you're going to do something around ad tech, you should go to New York. It's not to say every high growth startup in the tech space needs to be done out of Silicon Valley, but if you want to do the consumer internet playbook, there's just no other place where it works, because it's you do have a business model when you are an early stage consumer revenue, consumer internet company. Your business model is you are selling shares to venture capitalists for huge amounts of money. And those customers only all exist in one place. And so why would you not go there? It just doesn't make any sense. And I know that's a bummer, and look, I love Memphis, and I love the South, and there's a lot of things about San Francisco that piss me off, and I've been here since '99, and if I sit next to someone on a plane and they say, where are you from? I still say Memphis. I don't say San Francisco. I don't know if that'll ever change, But that said, it is just the reality of the game. There's just so many variables, and if you can, you take so many off the table by being here. And it's just pick up and move. If it doesn't work, move in 3 years. The other thing is if you fail, there's a million places to hire you. Everyone is hiring, and everyone is trying to find people. So it's the risk of failure is so much less. If you convince people to quit jobs and work for you and you fail, they can get other jobs. So you don't have that pressure as much. I mean, it's just way easier. To the first part of your question about fundraising and all that, I had a really interesting experience where I raised my first round in Silicon Valley and raised it from, people like, Reid Hoffman and Peter Thiel and Mark Andreessen and Jim Breyer and, sort of the big classic Silicon Valley names.
Right.
Second round was led by Lehrer Ventures in New York, who are the guys who built Huffington Post and had a lot of really great media experience. And then I wound up raising my next round, which was led out of a group in Tennessee. And so I've raised money in all three places. And it's, same company, way more revenue, way more traction, way more to show for, in Tennessee than we did anywhere else, and in New York that I had in Silicon Valley. Hands down, easiest money, best terms in Silicon Valley. It's just a totally different ballgame, even versus New York. And if I didn't already have the traction that I had with Pando, the revenues, because we actually do have a really good revenue stream, and we'll get profitable on $4 million. So we had an easier story for a Tennessee investor than certainly a normal consumer internet company would. And, I had track record for sort of helping build TechCrunch and having that experience before. And we had the investors that we had. And it was still took me more time to raise a less amount of money in the South than anywhere else. And if I had not had those things, we would have never gotten funded. And frankly, I probably would have had an even harder time raising money as a woman.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that was a really good answer. Because right now in Memphis, there's a push by a small one, but a growing one, to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem in Memphis. And I'm been kind of smack in the middle of it, and it seems like it's kind of struggling to identify itself with, is it going to try and support these kind of sexier consumer-facing things that you see coming out of the Valley that I think a lot of interest from potential founders exists here in Memphis, like it probably does in the rest of the world. Everyone wants to build an app. Or does it need to go more the route of an incubator or an environment for logistics-based companies, because we have FedEx here, and it's just not possible to build we just don't have the infrastructure and never will to build a ecosystem that can support consumer-facing stuff.
It is possible. Anything is possible. And it's like you're asking an ecosystem question, but ecosystems are made up of individuals. And every individual needs to do the best thing for them, not their ecosystem or anything else. So it's like, if the best thing for you is moving to San Francisco, it certainly was for me. There's no way in hell I would have built a company if I had stayed in Memphis. For a media company, what would I have done? It just wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have had the inspiration, the mentorship. There wouldn't have been the market opportunity that I saw in building Pando. So for someone like me, I wouldn't have been an entrepreneur if I had stayed in Memphis. And now, yes, I'm building a company in Silicon Valley, but we do our big annual event in Nashville where we bring, hundreds of VCs and investors and tons of people to the state of Tennessee. So I would argue I do more to support Tennessee investors having left and gone to Silicon Valley than I ever would have done if I had stayed. So for me, that was for someone else who has elderly parents in Tennessee or kids in school and can't move, they should try to do it there, because it's all possible, and success is all relative. What people consider success in Silicon Valley, you right now you have to be, it's even becoming passé to only be $1 billion company. But there's tons of people I know in Nashville, Atlanta, Raleigh, plenty of other smaller cities who they sell a company for $50 million. They are the BSD in the room. That's an amazing success. So that's very doable. It is very doable to build a $30 million company in Memphis. If you have a great idea, it's not easy, but that's totally possible. So I think it's less about what does the ecosystem need and what should the ecosystem do, and what do I want as a founder. If your heart is telling, the one thing you need to have as a founder is listen to your gut and have a very, very strong gut that you trust. And if your gut's telling you, I have a great idea and I want to be in Memphis for my lifestyle, then do it in Memphis. And if it's consumer internet, do consumer internet. If you don't want to do a logistics company, don't do a logistics company because you feel like the ecosystem wants you to do a logistics company. No one was funding content companies when I started Pando. It's a horrible business to fund. So, and now everyone is piled in. They didn't quite realize it's a horrible business to fund. But you've got to do what your heart tells you.